Hi and welcome to G-Spot. I'm doing an update video on the Nikon D7000. I'm going to talk a bit about the kit lens, but predominantly using it with the Sigma 70-200 2.8 version 2 EX HSM macro. Okay, so first off, the Nikon D7000. I've been using it for a couple of months now. And I'm pleased to report absolutely no issues with it whatsoever. I'm really enjoying it. I'll quickly run through a few of the really nice features I'm liking. Obviously the dual card slots, dual SD card slots is very handy. I generally just use it as an overflow. And it just takes that worry away. You don't have to worry about, oh, I've got to get another card ready and put in, or am I going to run out? Just don't worry about it. I have a second card in. I have two 8GB cards in. You know, absolutely fine. I've only been taking JPEG pictures at the moment because I am awaiting a MacBook Pro, and all I'm using is my iPad for my pictures at the moment. So until I can sort of increase my storage, I'm just using JPEGs, but I'm not having any issues at all. And throughout this video, I'm going to throw up some pictures that I've taken with this camera and predominantly with the 70-200 lens. So feature-wise, the initial thing that I was worried about with this camera was the ISO button to change it is here. And I just found that awkward. When you're out shooting, you've got to go ISO, look at that, or turn on the back screen, and it was just a bit fiddly. However, I did find in the menu a way of getting around it by using the thumb, either the thumb or the finger wheel. Now you can rotate these depending on how you want them. The way I have it, I generally shoot in aperture priority. The rear wheel I have to change the aperture, and the front wheel to change the ISO. So that's nice and easy on the fly. When I go into shutter priority, the front wheel is to change the shutter, and the rear wheel will change the ISO. In P mode, the rear wheel changes the aperture, and again the front wheel changes the ISO. So it takes a bit getting used to, but it's absolutely fine. Obviously in manual mode you've got one wheel's for aperture and one wheel's for shutter, so you can't change the ISO when you're in manual mode, only in aperture, shutter or P mode. I find it very fast, plenty fast enough for what I want. I've done some bit of sports photography, some animals, all different things. It's plenty fast enough. I generally have it on continuous high if I'm shooting sports, or continuous low or single for anything else. The continuous low I found is quite handy because on continuous high it's very easy to take 2 shots every time at 6 frames a second. So stick it onto continuous low, and I've got that set up at 4 frames per second, and there's less chance of doubling up on your shots. Other than that, I had previously the Nikon D50-100, and I had an issue with accidentally knocking this rocker and changing your focusing point, and I wanted the lock button. Well, on this camera you've got the lock switch to lock the focusing point, but because of the way it's designed, it's not a problem anyway. There's on no occasion have I actually knocked, because there's such a nice ridge there for your thumb to sit. It's very difficult to hit the rocker by mistake. So it's not been an issue, and generally I don't actually use the lock button. So there you go. So I can see why, you know, when they're designing it, so we don't need that lock button, take that away on a different camera. But because of the way the Nikon D50-100 is designed, with the flip out screen, everything's shifted over slightly and you haven't got this ridge, easy to knock the thing. So that's all good. Changing the focusing settings on the fly is brilliant, using this new little button, which is actually there's a small button on the autofocus manual focus switch. There's a little button in the middle, and when you press that little button, the rear dial changes from single continuous to auto, and the front dial changes from single point to 39 point to auto, and vice versa, and all the like the 3D tracking, all those sort of settings. So that's a really nice feature to be able to change that on the fly. Now then, kit lens is what it is. It's 18 to 105. It's got a nice range. It's a nice walkabout lens. The pictures I've got with it are absolutely fine. You do get little issues with chromatic aberration. The bokeh's not as nice. At the end of it, it's 3.5 to 5.6. I tend to try and use it at 18mm rather than at the 105 end. It's got the vibration reduction, so I predominantly use it as my video lens, and it works quite well for that. And it is what it is. So that's sort of all I've got to say about the camera, really. I haven't used the flash on it. I don't tend to use the flash because you can bump the ISO up, with no issues at all with this. So, I took some pictures inside a church and different things, and you can quite happily bump your ISO up to 1250, 1600 without any issues. Even if you're going to go back and like 2000 to 3200, and of course you've got the half stops as well. It is nice and adjustable on the ISO, so no issues with that. I have got a little SB400 flash. Again, I've used it very rarely, no problems whatsoever. So overall, I'm loving the camera. It's proving to be very robust. It's nice to handle. It's not too heavy. I am going to get a battery grip at some point. I was shooting some sports the other day, and virtually every single shot was vertical, and it did cause me some problems holding up, for long periods of time. Whereas the grip would have helped that. So I will invest in a grip at some point. Whether I'll get an aftermarket one or the Nikon one, I'm undecided. I might just get a cheap one to start with and see how I go from there. So plastic, no problems with the plastic on the back of the lens so far, but I would always prefer metal. So let's just bung that on there. Anyway, right, the Sigma 70 to 200 f2.8. I think this is a really good choice if you just blatantly can't afford the Nikon version because of the price. They're more than about double the price than the Nikon version of this lens. So if you can't afford it, this is a great alternative. I know there's Tamron and Tokina and all that, but I've sort of used Sigma for a while now, and I've been happy with everything. So it's 70 to 200 f2.8 all the way through, and they call it a macro lens. It's not really a macro lens. It doesn't focus particularly close. It's got the high-speed motors in. The focusing speed I've not had any issues with at all. It focuses nice and quick. It seems to lock in pretty well. Matches the system in the camera very well. I generally use it on a side. I have it on a side sling, which I have bolted to the mount there, so it will hang to my side like that, and when I'm ready to take a picture I just pull it up and I'm away. So that all works well. It's not too heavy. I mean, it is a big old lump, but it's a 70 to 200 in day. Or on this crop sensor, it's obviously 100 to 300 ish. But overall, I'm perfectly happy with it. It's all working well. The focusing ring is still lovely and smooth. The zoom ring, you can use one, you can use one with one finger, no problem at all. I have used it for a little bit of video, but it hasn't got the vibration reduction, so it's not ideal for that unless you're on a tripod and you're just perhaps panning. It would be fine for that. But handheld video, it's not ideal. That's why I use the VR. Yes, I would like the image stabilised version, but I've lived without it all this time, and it doesn't cause me any major issues. You just got to remember that if you're shooting at 200mm, you want to be at 200th of a second. If you're shooting at 70mm, you can get away with 60th of a second. If you just use that as a rule of thumb, you won't have any issues with camera shake. So overall, I'm loving the lens, I'm loving the camera, no issues with any of it. There's a bit of recall on the battery, and basically you get your battery out, check the number on the back, it's quite clear. It's this OG or OGA, and I think it's like if it's got an F there instead of a G, then you need to just send it back to Nikon, they'll send you a new one. But my one is a later version, and it didn't need to be recalled, so no problems with that. Just while I'm on battery life on the camera, I've just had no issues whatsoever. I've just been away for a week. I used it in the zoo, I used it to shoot a sports event, and I didn't charge it once. And it just charged it when I got home, and it was absolutely fine. So no issues with that at all. I don't use auto, I don't use any of the scene modes, so I can't really talk about those. I have got user mode set up, I've never used them. As I say, I generally use aperture priority, or sometimes I just stick it in P mode for a few snapshots if I'm feeling lazy or whatever. Just a nice little feature to mention. There's a little word format in orange there, format in orange there. And what that means is if you press and hold those two buttons, you'll get format come up on the screen. Press and hold again, and it will format your card for you. So you can do that without going through the menus, which is a nice feature. What else can I say about it? Other than that, that's it really. It's absolutely fantastic. I've got no issues. I've printed off a massive picture with it, no problems at all. Yeah, absolutely loving it. I hope this helps. If you've got any questions about the camera or the lens, then send me a message. Cheers, bye.